Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Kristen Fehrenbach. I'm a member of the Microsoft team here at Pax8, and we're just really excited to do a live recap for everybody. We've covered so many sessions today. I believe it was upwards of 32. So many key highlights, everything that's going to be coming in fiscal year 23 with Microsoft. We've brought in Microsoft experts, and we really just want to look at what does it take for partners globally to be successful this next year. Thanks for joining, Philip.
Yeah, it was a fun flight getting here, but I dodged a heat wave in the UK to come across here.
Did you?
I did.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And you actually brought some of your team members as well.
I did. I'm here with 4 of the team members, so it's good to be out here.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for joining. And as we just continue to grow, I want to make sure that, Microsoft, they always talk about the opening statements, right? What are those new announcements? Some general availability, what's going on? We hear about, some sneak peeks.
Yeah.
When you think about this, what just sparked your interest today?
I think the keynote from Satya Nadella was really good as ever. Lots being communicated that sets the scene for all the other content that's going to come over the 2 days. And I thought the title of his keynote, doing more with less, I think is kind of what we are all experiencing. Either in MSP land or for the role that we play within the channel of if your platform or if your business or your organization or your non-profit, if we're built on Microsoft's platform, we truly can do more with less because of so many of the integration that just works out of the box right now.
I love that. And as you're growing a new region, you've actually stepped into a new role.
Yes, I am now Chief Revenue Officer for Pax8 in EMEA. What a blast, huh?
Congratulations. And we're just so excited to have you, the team here. Yeah. I think that we're going to learn a lot. We're going to dive in. We have obviously our live recaps that, we're here, we're doing it live. Yep. But we also have our blogs. And so I know we're going to dive into that a little bit. But as we look at just some key highlights, specifically for Americas, we see Viva come up over and over again. So I'm excited to really dive into that later with Dom. As we go through our different session, we are going to make sure that, we always want to circle back. What does that mean for our partners? And I think that Microsoft does a really great job talking to the enterprise. But how does that differentiate when we talk about maybe what our partners are focusing on?
I think in terms of what our partners are focusing on right now, security, as we'll talk about later with Dom, more integration, stuff coming into Teams with Excel and Dynamics and everything working out of the box. That's really, really exciting. So I think it's all about that. And the app piece as well, right? More apps coming into Teams as well, which is going to help people be more efficient.
Absolutely. And then we think about Microsoft. They go to the enterprise more often than not. Yeah. And how do we translate that to small business, very small business, to be able to say, that's the majority of our businesses that are out there. When you look at all up, how do we really translate that from this enterprise language down into that? So I'm really excited to be able to be one of those translators. We have people coming in, make sure that, we really want to make sure that we're just having a good time at the same time. We've won some really good awards, and I want to just celebrate those. As we went, we have 3? Was it 3?
I think it was 3.
It was 3.
I'm fed about counting these days. Yeah.
It'll be great. So we actually have Indirect Provider of the Year, 2nd year in a row. Let's take a look at some of these awards.
One of the things that's great about my role, Deb, is I have an opportunity to speak with partners almost every day. And with absolute certainty, there's some amazing stories of transformation. And I think I'd like to now just take a few minutes to highlight across our different partner types and across our customer base some of the great progress that we're seeing. So I'd like to first start with Pax8. Microsoft's ability to grow an SMB is directly tied to our ability of our indirect providers to help our MSPs grow. We can't meet their needs alone. Right. We need their help. We need a disruptive, transformational partner that can really help these partners understand the next way, the next opportunity to grow and sell.
I agree.
I know that you feel passionate about SMB and you really appreciate the work of Pax8. Any thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I couldn't agree more. And I think it's this amazing opportunity and great example of impact. We talk about impact a lot. How do we drive impact through innovation approaches? And this one for me is cool because it's about data signals too. It's actually helping the partner community and the ecosystem think about what's the next best solution area for our customers. And through this innovation, they're also just driving amazing results, and the reach has been incredible. So I can't say enough about them. I think it's been an awesome opportunity for us and for them.
Absolutely.
How amazing to watch that. You know what? We got to celebrate that live. And our Microsoft team, we're spread out throughout the nation, across the globe. But when I really look at this, we got to bring everybody in and we got to celebrate. So let's take a look at that as well. All right, let's actually take a look at these awards individually. All right, so now joining us we have Dom, and you're such a big part of this Microsoft team with professional services. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, I'm Dom Kirby. I'm the Director of Cloud Services here for Pax8. So my job is to build and strategize the professional services team to help our partners do more Microsoft.
I know that we work together all the time, so thanks for joining us. And I mean, when we look at Inspire, you know, I already told everybody we're going to talk about Microsoft Viva. We have questions coming in. So as we continue to see Microsoft Viva, what are your thoughts and how do we integrate that into our partner base?
You know, I think at its core, it's important to remember Microsoft Viva isn't new. So we've all been using it for a while under 3 or 4 different brand names, but as they've really made Viva a good brand. I've honestly been using it for quite some time. I use Viva Insights, work with my team to help them prioritize their time. It's a massive time saver. But as we look at where they're taking Viva and turning it into that employee engagement platform, that employee experience platform, it lets us create some powerful tools within our organization, right? I think if we look at how important it is nowadays to drive an employee experience that people love, Viva is going to be centered to that.
So do you think that enabling our partners with Microsoft Viva, do you believe that that's going to help them retain customers, to retain their own talent? Like, how do you think that that is going to directly affect them?
Yeah, I think just about any industry, talent is hyper competitive. I'm feeling it on my team. I know you're feeling it on yours. But in any industry, plumbers, right? It doesn't really matter nowadays. That
everybody needs somebody right now, it seems like, right?
Right. So I think especially though in the information worker space and the office space, being able to deliver engaging experiences to employees is now a demand that employees have every right to make just after what we've experienced in the past 2 years with the pandemic. Right, the way we work has changed, and there's a lot of room for competition in the way we deliver work experiences. So, the way the technologies that are being rolled into Viva and the integrations that Viva has across the platform for knowledge sharing and employee experience and employee satisfaction are going to be massive differentiators. And I've even seen more and more candidates from my side. They're looking for a different digital experience, more so than pay sometimes. So, employer competitiveness is going to be critical moving forward.
I love that. So we have a lot of questions that are coming in live, and I want to make sure that we're hitting on some of those. So I know one of them is talking about Microsoft's going to always double down on security. We see that over and over again. It's a very just key theme this year. But when we look at tools, I think it's Microsoft Intra, and then what are your thoughts as we go into this looking at the security base? And I know we also had Priva as well.
We do, yeah. No, I still love for how they're bragging about Microsoft's $1 billion annual investment in security. It's critical. Security is everything right now. The majority of our economy is small business. Cybersecurity is important for critical infrastructure. So as we move forward in security, I'm really excited to see Microsoft really sort of bundling and packaging their brand in a way that helps us disseminate that information. So I stole some statistics and I had to write them down and some data. So we're saying, you know, cyber threats are going to cost upward of $10 trillion US.
That was the T, a trillion.
Trillion dollars. That's a lot of money.
Yes.
Right. So it's really important to continue investing in cybersecurity, whether you're a partner, whether you're a customer, whether you're Microsoft, or whether you're us, right? Okay. So we're seeing a lot of innovation here. And we're also seeing some organization in the Microsoft space. So let's start with Intra. Intra, they classify it as the entry point to our world, right? And that's identity. So Azure Active Directory, we all know Azure Active Directory, we all love Azure Active Directory, so it's now in this product. But there's a really cool new product coming out that allows us, called permissions management, allows us to manage permissions across our clouds, whether you're using, say, Salesforce, maybe you're on Amazon, it doesn't really matter. I can manage identities and access across my infrastructure, and that's a massive win that we can look to adopt right away, especially if we have some customers that are maybe a little bit bigger or maybe just have more complicated infrastructure.
So you're letting Microsoft be your base, but you can always plug in.
Exactly.
I love that.
The center of the IT universe, I like to call it, right?
So, and I mean, we look at security and it can be daunting.
It can.
So if we have somebody saying, hey, you know what, I don't know if we're as secure as maybe we should be, where's somewhere that they can start?
At the beginning, it's, you know, I'm personally a huge fan of centralizing on Microsoft tech. We do it here at Pax8. It goes back to that employee experience. I like to think we're very secure here, but we also have, you know, it's easy to get work done.
Sure.
But if you really want to analyze cybersecurity and you really want to get good at it, you've got to stop being the smartest person in the room, right? And what I mean by that is study and learn from others. My biggest piece of advice that I'll give anyone anytime is use a framework. Sure. Get really good at using other people's knowledge to do better at what you do. Is
there a good framework that you would like to point to say, you know what, I know that we just want people to start where they're at today. Yeah. But if there's a framework that you can say, hey, I think this is a great starting point.
There's two. So the one I usually use and advise people to use is CIS controls from the Centers for Internet Security. They're on version 8, so when you go download them, make sure you get version 8. What I like about them is they're very prescriptive. It says do this at this frequency or with this cadence. That's really helpful. But the other one is NIST CSF. It's been around since the dawn of time, or at least since the dawn of cybersecurity.
Sure.
It's a very powerful one. The only catch I would say with NIST is that it's a little more abstract and you have to sort of interpret how to use it.
Okay.
But one of those is a great place to start. But really any framework, any commercially accepted framework is something. It gives you a set of rules to follow.
I love that. All right, we have another question that came in. So we're talking about different announcements. There's technology such as the Digital Contact Center platform. How do organizations start just getting better at hybrid? I think that when we look at the collaboration, the technology, we want the technology to always be the center point. But we know that some people aren't coming back into the office. We see that here at Pax8. Sometimes, you know, we have employees in, sometimes they're at home.
Right.
How do we get better at that?
I think no matter how you look at this, hybrid work is where we are, and it's where we're staying, right?
Sure.
I think you see large companies out there trying to get rid of it or bring people back to the office, and they lose their talent. And it goes back to that employee experience, right? You and I work in different states, but we collaborate all the time, and the ability to do that is really centered around technology, right? So I think when we revisit some old tech really quickly, and we look at Microsoft Teams, and we look at SharePoint, Microsoft 365, or even AVD, it gives us the ability to take technology and put it in your hands wherever you are, right? So going back to employee experience and hybrid work, Microsoft is doubling down their efforts to make that a cohesive experience for everyone. So if you look at the new Digital Contact Center platform, for example, having contact center capabilities tied into across where everything lives in your organization, right? It ties into SharePoint, it ties into Teams conversations, Viva Knowledge. Having all that right at your fingertips is massive, and it stops mattering where you're at. And that's kind of the whole point of modern workplace, right? Is we can be secure, we can be productive, and we can be efficient anywhere. And that's really why I'm in this space and why I love to do what I do. And it's always great to see Microsoft continuing that effort and continuing to double down and reinvest.
I love that. And so as we continue to see this hybrid workspace, do you have any recommendations for saying, you know what, at the end of the day, we want you to be the most efficient that you possibly can. So we've got SharePoint, we've got Teams, we have all these different things. Do you have any pro tips that you want to give to us?
Like everything, it's a process. So really understand your customers and their business needs and their need for business outcomes. Right? And that can be tough. It's going to take some time, but really understand not just the technology, understand the people behind the business. But step one is we all call it digital transformation. It's absolutely a buzzword, but we still use it, so it's fine. But if we look at digital transformation, just getting them onto their first cloud platforms, maybe that's Exchange, maybe that's implementing Teams, whatever it is to make them a little more cloudified or SaaSified, as
so you want the group text to stop on the cell phone?
I do. I want it in Teams.
That hits home for me. I really like that. I think at the end of the day, I look at our Microsoft team even, right? And I mean, we've got people in from Tennessee, we've got people in from Texas, we've got people all over. We've got a couple even in from Canada.
Right.
It doesn't stop us from working remotely.
Exactly.
And I know that we partner with your team quite often. I mean, how do we, I want to make sure that my file storage is right. I want to make sure that all these things are efficient. And I think that these are all tools that will allow us to do so.
Yeah, in a big way. And they're going to keep reinvesting in this. They're going to keep making it better. So I think as a partner, I think our role is really to focus on how do we get the most out of this technology and teach our customers how to get the most business outcome.
I love that. All right, so we have another question. Let's jump into that one. So when we look at organizations the past 2 years, we want to make sure that the digital tools are sufficient. The pandemic has absolutely changed the landscape.
It has.
And I don't know if it's going to go back. What are your thoughts about that?
So I certainly hope it doesn't go back.
Right.
Now, I'm someone who does come into the office quite frequently, but it's because I like to. But people who work for me might not want to, and that's
Sure.
fine. I've made it totally acceptable. So when we think about, the way we engage, moving through this pandemic, I don't know what phase of the pandemic we're in. We're somewhere in this pandemic, right? As we continue to navigate how we create businesses that create experiences for humans. That's what businesses do, right? We have to look at all the technology in front of us. I'll caution though, and what I see a lot on our professional services team is they've sort of gotten the shiny toy syndrome and dug into 10, 15
Sure.
different tools. So I'll go back to my advice of start somewhere and start looking at what you have in front of you today, what Microsoft's talking about today and tomorrow at Inspire, and start to understand the business outcomes that you can create. So we spend a lot of time talking about Viva and the employee engagement platform. That might not work for your small, 3-person accounting firm.
Sure.
But it's worth at least the exploration and seeing if it does and finding the right fit for that piece of technology and using what's being, I don't want to say what's being given to you, but what you're purchasing from Microsoft and what they're sort of adding.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for
I know
having
that
me.
we are going to have so much fun for the rest of the day. We've got blogs, we've got day 2, and we're going to have
Day
Matt
2.
Lee tomorrow. You and Matt Lee are going to have a
The
great
beard.
time. Thank you for joining
Yeah,
us.
It's going to be a good time.
I do want to jump in. So we actually want to put up a meme that, kind of hits close to home. Inspire, there's so many sessions going on. Take a look at this meme. Now, we've taken this and we've recreated. It has been quite fun. We've had a blast doing so. So take a look at our recreation. Now I know a bunch of you have probably seen that meme before. We had so much fun. We got to celebrate. Our team is always so high energy, and we just love to take that messaging and how does it really translate. So I actually want to introduce Alex. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much. Happy to be here.
So tell us about what you do here at Pax8.
Lots of things change, different from even a year ago, but I'm really happy that I get to kind of lead our business operations for our vendor team here at Pax8, which of course incorporates Microsoft as well.
I love that. So I want to dive right in because I want to talk about the opening segment. So when we talk about Satya's opening statements, we talk about everything that's coming this next year. And when you look at business operations, what lights you up and what gets you excited?
Yep. Satya's opening segment is always incredibly exciting to watch. It kind of sets the pace for the show and what types of content we're going to see coming forward over 2 entire days worth of content, all circulating around Microsoft. I think it's really around a couple of things. We're consolidating technology platforms. We're seeing a lot of transformation happen in terms of where time should be spent for organizations as it relates to where they invest their monetary dollars into Microsoft products from across all 3 of the major Microsoft clouds. And so I think for me, from an operational standpoint, one that really gets me going in terms of figuring out what we can even do internally here at Pax8 is thinking about encouraging hybrid development teams at the company. We are heavy utilizers of the Power Platform here at Pax8, and it does some radical transformation internally in terms of modernizing business process, making it more collaborative, more secure, all while collaborating with knowledge workers who know their work best and pairing with professional developers to make sure that time is spent where it should be and that business outcomes can be achieved in a much faster pace than they would have been before. So that's a really strong message that I felt coming out of Inspire, and I think we're going to see a lot more over it over the next day or so.
And I'm really excited to see the future of Power Platform because it just enables, I know that, internally in Pax8, your team, we have a lot of self-built apps. And when we look at time savings and efficiencies, what can that do for a small business?
It can do everything. I mean, it really does come down to understanding how you're going to incorporate process into the existing flow of work for an organization, right? Uprooting and navigating the thousands of SaaS applications that exist out there is definitely hard to do. And a lot of times you're having to mold your own internal business process to some application that might not fit all of your business needs. So then in turn, you're kind of having to change the way that you do business and, you know, fluctuate and change the way that your teams operate and collaborate with each other. So by taking that ownership internally and creating solutions that are custom built for your team to serve that exact purpose, gets those outcomes in just a much better frame of reference. You know, the return that you're going to get from that initial time investment to actually build out those tools is much faster, because it's going to be centered around that problem that you begun with. And it extends across all the tools that you already use, right? It's inside of Teams, it's on the web, it's in mobile, it's on every single place that you want to access that type of information. And you're able to kind of drive that custom-built experience for everyone, which I think is very powerful, and it's going to become more important for organizations when we think about that kind of, you know, do more with less mentality.
And it enables them.
Of course,
at the end of the day.
It does. You know, it's how are we utilizing the existing digital estate that we have? We made this investment into Microsoft 365 or Dynamics. And it's really about extending the capability of those platforms, and it doesn't take expensive full-time developers to do so. It can be knowledge workers in finance or marketing or sales who are able to create these incredible solutions that really empower their business and their colleagues as well.
I love that. So we actually have some questions coming in for you, so let's dive into one. So we hear a lot about sustainability. So what is Microsoft doing to make sustainability of digital technology more approachable?
You know, I think sustainability is an interesting problem to come across, because that time delegation is really important for businesses and partners, right? Those customers and partners alike, to understand where they fit into that equation. And a lot of times it does revolve around where that investment is made. What recommendation would you make as a partner for your customer to invest into? You know, that comes across what's going to be the most productive solution, whereas there's going to be cost savings, but you can add another element in there to kind of prove out the sale or make a more, you know, enticing offer, which is Microsoft's commitment to sustainability from kind of every area of their product stack. So not only are they thinking about sustainability for the products that they have with Azure and recycling existing technology and making their data centers more efficient, but also the individuals creating those projects, right? And creating those products that everybody's able to acquire and deploy within their organization. I know that, you know, Microsoft's campus inside of Redmond is going over a huge remodel currently, and it's going to be powered by predominantly geothermal energy, and they're kind of changing the way that they do things. And that has a net benefit indirectly to the customers who are utilizing their products, right? So if you really want to think about, hey, how can I have a sustainable approach without having to uproot my entire business? You know, Microsoft is a platform organization. So there's lots of solutions across the board, from infrastructure to productivity to business applications and more. So you're really able to get that full investment without sacrificing maybe your own personal commitments as an organization, or something that your customer is kind of tied to personally in terms of what they want to be in terms of their sustainability goals.
I love that. We have lots of questions coming in. Let's make sure that we're hitting on this one, because I think that it's going to be important. So for Pax8, Microsoft is always going to be a core part of our business, right? But for partners, how does Microsoft deliver the impact to their business, and what is the best overall growth path for them?
Of course, you know, I think the partner network for Microsoft is always going to continue to evolve and change as time goes on. And I'd say one of the most notable details or changes that Microsoft is making is with their kind of prior competency-based modeling that they had for Partner Center. So if you wanted to have kind of a advanced designation to show that you really know what you're talking about and can provide an incredible solution or an incredible experience for your customers, you know, they had those across Azure and Dynamics and Modern Work and security. But now they've kind of navigated towards these solution partner designations, where again, in the theme of consolidating for Microsoft, a lot of that is taking 20 or so competencies and putting them into 9 core offerings that again, connect to each other, because again, all of these products within their ecosystem are going to talk to each other. So how do you kind of weave that story and talk about that kind of cohesive collaboration, productivity, and security fabric across all these products? And that solution partner designation does just that, right? You've got a multitude of different things, but it's really focused on two core concepts, which is your go-to-market capabilities and your sales capabilities as an organization, on top of the fact that you have the technical capability to execute
certifications.
100%, right? Do you have the certifications to be able to show that you know the product, you know how to configure, you know how to support those products in terms of their entire life cycle of deployment? But also, are you able to talk about it, about how it's going to mix into their organization, their existing digital estate that they have as an organization, and what type of net benefit they're going to get from that? So again, empowers you from a sales perspective, your go-to-market with resources that Microsoft provides, I might add, but also being able to prove out verifiably with public resources that your customers can see as well, to show that you have technical mastery, but you also mastery across your sales capability as an organization.
So when you think about the new partner program, and do you think that partners achieving these, is it going to gain the credibility at the end of the day? Do you think that somebody might go with a partner who has one of these versus one that doesn't?
I think it does. And one of the big reasons is that Microsoft is going to continue to expand their own marketplace offerings, and thinking about that discoverability aspect for a partner to say, how do I set myself apart from the thousands of partners that exist across the country, across the world, or whatever market you happen to interact with? And these kind of solution partner designations do just that. It proves out verifiably that you meet a core set of competencies. They have the technical capability internally to be able to support any situation that a customer might come to the table with, which I think is really important. And again, you see that in their marketplace offerings. You're going to see that in events or different programs that Microsoft is going to offer, which gives a really great platform for these partners to have some kind of extra kudos or extra brownie points, you could say, for these organizations to showcase on their own websites or social feeds, to really drive engagement to their organization, to show the commitment, the time, and the investment that they made into their business.
It's substantial.
Yeah, to drive an incredible experience for their customers.
I love that. All right, I think we have time for another question, so I want to make sure. So when we look at it, Microsoft, what are you most excited to see on day 2? As we look at, what's coming next, I think that we continue to talk about security. We continue to really have some main core themes. We look at the schedule for day 2. What are you excited to see?
I think security, even continuing the conversations that's going to happen there. And again, it's about consolidating. It's about how do we bring these products together to drive a more cohesive story. Some of the announcements that were really exciting today that I hope they touch more on tomorrow is around Azure Arc. As a Pax8 partner, you have access to a lot of different vendors on the line card. And so for customers, and it may not be all of them, but you can even encourage them to have multi-cloud workloads without sacrificing interoperability between those services. And so for Microsoft to be able to have a platform that extends to Amazon Web Services and extends to the Google Cloud and extends to other services, to not only have your security, but your storage, your compute, to be able to really manage that from one place comprehensively, I think is a really powerful offering. But also, I'd say the last thing that I'm excited for in day 2 is around ISVs, right? Those independent software vendors.
We heard a little bit today. And I mean, when you look at the Microsoft strategy there, what are your thoughts as we continue to build that muscle?
I think, again, it's about extensibility. It's about how do you take that Microsoft platform to the next level to drive incredible engagement of that platform and solution, but make it incredibly sticky and let it make sense for those end customers. So industry is obviously top of mind for a lot of these ISVs. It's how do they align their individual SaaS product to extend Azure or extend Dynamics 365 or extend Microsoft 365 across agriculture or retail or finance, to really drive that solution home, to make it a lot more relevant for them to have that product. Because again, Microsoft's a platform company. Their products that they offer are very platform centric, that I can build on top of them. And Teams is a primary example of that. Even here at Pax8, when we think about how do we bring ISVs into the fold that drive that Microsoft experience home, a lot of the learnings that we're going to get from this kind of day 1 and day 2 of Inspire are going to continue to mold that vision, and also kind of put our listening ears on to say, what kinds of solutions are going to be really powerful to drive a better Microsoft experience for partners who choose Pax8 as their kind of primary Microsoft partner.
And what do we see in the future?
I think
Love
we
it.
see a lot more industry focus. I think we see a lot more targeted offerings that are going to bring a lot of vendors into the fold and drive a really compelling offering for customers that make it a lot more transformative and not as kind of baseline. They need to custom fit it for their organization. ISV solutions really drive that home in a way that's economically beneficial when you think about margin opportunities. But again, in terms of the capabilities of taking those solutions that exist today with Teams and Microsoft 365 and Outlook and so on and so forth, to bring those to the next level, to make them just that much more of a powerful solution for those organizations to take advantage of.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today, Alex. I am so excited to be here, doing it live, stuttering through it sometimes. That is absolutely what happens. 32 sessions in one day. You saw us just running around. We're making sure that we're plugging in. And I want to just continue to hit on the fact that it's so important for us at Pax8. How are we translating? Philip, we're back.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts from day one?
That's been great, isn't it? We always find that the keynote from Satya sets the scene for the next 2 days, right? So we've had some of it delivered today, some of the stuff that Alex and the team have looked at with you today, right? But it's really, really exciting as the web app revolution just continues to just grow at this incredible rate.
It's just unfolding. It's just unfolding. So we can only cover so much in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
What are we putting into the blog? I know that behind the scenes, they are still feverishly working on this blog. How much more detail? And I want to make sure that, as we look at it globally, it makes sense. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think two of the things that have already been covered in the 30 minutes that we've got today. I think the focus on verticals, I think that's key for partners. We're going to see the trusted advisor in so many of these verticals, right? Yes. Accounting, marketing, manufacturing, all of these different verticals are going to explode. And the trusted advisor that focuses in those areas for security and kind of cloud provision, they're going to become more and more important. So I think we're going to see a lot of stuff from tomorrow, particularly around ISVs that are in that middle piece.
I know, we keep getting all those teasers there, don't we? So I want you, one last time, we're going to put on your partner hat.
Okay, like former MSP hat.
Former MSP, like you are the MSP. Is Pax8, this is war room, is it beneficial at the end of the day?
I think for me, if I was an MSP today watching this 30 minutes, it's great to have somebody else do all the hard work to bring the canned content in kind of a short period and really de-junkifying sometimes a lot of the...
De-junkifying, we're going to trademark that one.
Because we don't play in the enterprise space, most MSPs, right? We play in that lower solopreneur all the way up to, the kind of the mid-market. Yes. So a lot of the enterprise content that's in there sometimes comes across as not irrelevant, but it's like, how can I connect with that?
Sure.
What am I going to do? So like dynamics, okay? What does that mean to like a small MSP? Well, on the journey that we're on right now with Microsoft and where they're bringing that way, way lower down the kind of industry food chain, that's going to be a powerful thing. So for me, as an MSP, I would love the fact that I wouldn't have to take all the kind of 2 days out, particularly watching it virtually.
It's a long
just to
time.
grab 30 minutes here, right?
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for Day 1 live recap. Make sure you're checking out our blogs. Join us for Day 2 as well. Thank you so much. Have a great day.